You filled up your car recently. I bet you've noticed something's off. But you know what? That pain you're feeling at the pump, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a much bigger story playing out for all of Australia.
This isn't just some scary headline. Nope, it's a huge signal that something fundamental is really at stake here. The government's sudden freakout is a major clue, and we're going to follow it to see what's really going on.
Look, let's be real. This isn't just about your wallet. Yeah, of course it hurts. We all feel that squeeze when prices go through the roof. But that high cost, it's just a symptom of a much deeper and, frankly, more worrying problem for the entire country.
All right, first up, the pain at the pump. To really get what's happening, we've got to look at just how bad the immediate problem is.
15%. Just think about that. In only 3 months, fuel prices have shot up by 15%. That's not a small bump. That is a massive, massive jump in a super short amount of time.
So yeah, we're not talking about a slow, gentle rise here. This is like a sudden shock to the system, an economic jolt. And it's genuinely hurting Australian families. It's putting this incredible pressure on small businesses, the ones that need transport just to stay afloat.
But here's the thing. Price spikes? They happen, right? We've seen it before. So why the sudden urgency from the government this time? The reaction from Canberra has been totally different. It's been fast, it's been public, and honestly, it feels a little desperate. So what gives? What's changed?
Okay, let's talk about the government's reaction. Because their response, it reveals a level of panic that goes way beyond just trying to manage prices.
It's been a desperate plea to the public. I mean, we've seen this really unusual series of announcements. They're not just explaining the situation, they're actively trying to get us to change our behavior. That is not a typical government move at all. And just listen to the language they're using. They're begging every Australian to change their driving habits. Think about that word, begging. When a government starts begging people to use less of something as essential as fuel, that tells you something huge. They're not just worried about angry voters. They're worried about the actual supply. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If they're this panicked in public, you can only imagine how concerned they are in private. It's time to pull back the curtain and see what they're seeing.
And this is it, the heart of the matter. Australia's fuel insecurity. See, the real issue isn't just how much fuel costs, it's about whether we can get it at all.
Okay, so here's what's going on. On one hand, we've got what we think the cause is. Global supply chain chaos, international conflicts, and yeah, that stuff is definitely a factor. But on the other hand, there's what's also happening, and this is the crucial part, a critical decline in our own domestic fuel production. We've basically and quietly dismantled our ability to make our own fuel. Just look at this. Seriously, this right here is maybe the most important visual to understand this whole crisis. See that tiny, tiny little sliver? That's our local production. And that huge chunk? That's all imported. What that means is we are almost completely dependent on other countries and on long, super fragile shipping lanes for the very fuel that keeps our country running. And look, this didn't just happen overnight. It's been a slow burn. Over the past decade, we've watched our refineries close down one by one. Each time one shut its doors, we became just a little bit more dependent on imports, a little less secure. And it's all led up to the really dicey situation we're in today.
So this all comes down to a key idea, fuel security. The best way to think about it is like insurance for the whole country. You hope you never have to use it, right? But if a big global crisis hits, your fuel security is what keeps the lights on, what keeps the trucks on the road, what keeps the entire country functioning. And right now, our insurance policy has pretty much expired.
So, why is this such a big deal? Because this isn't just about paying more for petrol. The consequences of this, they create a ripple effect that touches every single part of our society.
First off, you get economic instability. When transport costs more, everything costs more. Your groceries, building materials, you name it. It just fuels inflation. Then, you've got our essential services at risk. We're talking about ambulances, our farms, our entire freight network. And finally, and this is the big one, it's a huge national security vulnerability. Think about it. If there's a major conflict, what's the first thing an adversary would target? Those long, fragile supply chains.
All right, so knowing all that, let's bring it all together. What's the road ahead for us? Key takeaways. The bottom line is this. That recent pain at the pump, it's a flashing warning light on the dashboard of our country. And it's flashing because our national fuel tank is running dangerously low on self-sufficiency. Our heavy reliance on imported fuel is a massive economic and security gamble. And the government's panicked reaction, it just shows they know exactly how high the stakes really are. And that leaves us with one final and probably the most important question of all. Is Australia prepared for the next global shock? I mean, we've seen just how vulnerable